the new normal comes back, then hopefully we'll be able to get a large scale spay and neuter program, because that's really, in the end, that's the only way to do it. I mean, you can't keep up with it, otherwise.
So we are live. This is Lindsay Baker with the Action Hour at 10 o'clock every Saturday. And jumping right in with me, I have Zach Lovis from Voyages. Zach, you were with me about 3-4 months ago, and wow, in that short time, it's amazing what you have done. I just want to mention a couple of things because I know you're super modest, but you are the winner of the Best Ethical Innovation from the Veggie Awards UK. You're the winner Best Brand Award from Green Festival New York City, and you also are the winner of Green Dream Award from Green Festivals Los Angeles. And you are up for a you and Voyages is up for a World Travel Award. And we're going to get our folks to vote for that today.
Thank you, Lucy.
Zach, how are you doing? Tell us what's going on.
Hanging in there, but very busy, which is good. So I've been very, very busy with the relief work for the foundation as well as for the company. And I just want to say thank you, Lindsay. I know you've been very busy, and thank you for welcoming me back on your show again. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Well, folks that watch every week know that just last week I did a little clip on your COVID relief efforts, and we want to just tell the folks, how many meals have you served so far?
We have served so far over 97,000 meals. By the end of this month, we'll be crossing over 100,000 meals, and hopefully that will start coming down. Because obviously, if it starts coming down, that means we're going to slowly start getting back to a new normal. But 97,000 meals by the end of this month will be over 100,000 meals have been served.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that program and about the cancer patients that you're helping. Perhaps you can give us an update on that. But there's so much I don't really even know where to begin. But we do want to tell people about how your company, the tour company, has grown. Mm-hmm. But let's just start with, I think, the reason why it has grown, and that is the fact that you practice responsible travel. Your company is all about responsible travel. Do you want to just tell the audience what that is?
Okay, so responsible travel, that's a very good question. And responsible travel is there's all different kind of terminology for it, and it's kind of debated on what it really encompasses or what it really entails. But basically, it's to try to make a positive impact in the communities that you travel to lessen the impact on the local environment, on local food and water resources, and try to make tourism sustainable. And that would be without negatively affecting or kind of smothering cultures and communities, and hopefully wherever possible giving back. Which is why we to some people's dislike or annoyance, we try to push that, hey, traveling vegan should be part of the traveling responsible conversation. There's people talk in the sustainable travel circles, responsible travel circles, eco-friendly travel circles. When you bring up traveling vegan should be part of that conversation, a lot of times people cringe or they just kind of want to skip over it, very much like they do with climate change.
Yeah, I know that just a couple of years ago, traveling with my husband, it was really difficult. Even in the 4-star, 5-star hotels, they really can't even accommodate you. The food they give you is horrible. But it's so great that people can have this experience. And it's more than just about, of course, the food and just getting a little feel of culture. You actually become immersed when you do one of these tours. Isn't that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we basically create the tours, which we like to call the stories, with the local community. So we sit down and rewrite and develop the stories with the local communities. And then through the local communities for 2 weeks, people live the experience that hopefully helps bridge cultural gaps and bring people closer to have a better understanding of local cultures and the communities that we're visiting or we're guests of.
Wow. So you're really bringing people together, and you're giving people an opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to do something that could possibly change their life. And your company really stands for that as a goal. Isn't that, I read in your mission statement that you are really about bringing people and cultures together, as you were just saying. Yep. But you have a really interesting formula. And you talk about your storytelling. We don't look at ourselves as tour operators or a tour company or a travel agency. I am actually not a fan of the travel agency, and we've done some shows about why. That's a whole other subject we can get into. But how it has developed over the years is what we're talking about, using animals and not paying attention to sustainability and all that. So that's what we're saying. We're not against travel agencies, but you say we approach what we do as a mission-focused community storytelling, and you have the big 9 cultural attributes. And I found that fascinating. And you use the word relatable. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yes, that is correct. So basically what we do is community-based storytelling meets meets travel, meets veganism all in one. So it's all combined into one. And relatable is basically part of when we're writing the stories with local communities. We make sure that the 9 attributes that are included in that storytelling process. The same way, like when you write, for anybody out there that's in the classic storytelling process, the first act, second act, third act, it's the same way. So we do it with the first act, second act, third act with the communities when we're writing with them. We're making sure that all those are covered, but then that these 9 attribute points are. And why the 9 attributes is because a lot of times politicians, local leadership, or global leadership, religious leaders, what have you, special interests, they use a lot of these 9 attributes in a negative way. So we want to make sure that those are introduced in the story that we write with the community, so then people realize that, hey, it's not even just a positive way, but oh my gosh, there's so much more we all have in common when you really understand what each of those things represent to those communities. And
let's go through a couple of them for folks. So for the religious one.
Yeah, now religion is very important, obviously. So when relatable, R is right at the beginning, is religion, and that's been linked by trade to tradition and everything in between. And as we know, that religion has helped to define, unite, and separate societies and communities equally, providing codes of conduct of living, and many times adapting to local norms, but at the same times also equally changing them. And that includes local norms, cultures, and communities. But it's constantly evolving. So one of the things we like to do is the religion of the community, or the religions of the community, I should say. We kind of, through the community, we write the whys, hows, whats, and whens behind the beliefs, and the uncanny similarities and threads between them all, which there are. When you look at them, as people know, there is so much more we have in common than different, but unfortunately, the politicians and leadership likes to focus on the difference. So rather than—
that's what keeps us separate, so that they stay in power.
Yeah.
Yes, but we are coming together. And then we have language.
Yes. So we have eating. Next, I'll go through them real quick. We have eating, and eating is obviously a very important part. It's not just about the taste, but it's about how those tastes became, how the ingredients became, how these dishes became part of a culture. And we kind of we tell this story by enjoying local home cooked meals with families and learning how to cook the local dishes that have been passed down from generations in home kitchens, to helping out at family farms, learning about the local eating etiquette, and the history and heritage and connections from centuries of trade and inner contact that led to the cuisines. So it's really a gateway into a community's history, into their traditions, and it really, when we look at it and we delve even deeper and we do that, we realize, wow, how much we've all been connected and how much we've been commingling for not just years, not just generations, but centuries and centuries, millennia. And the next part is language, which is very similar. So we're REL, language, including we do daily language lessons, words and phrases that are practical to use. And language, the same way like food, is a gateway into a community's history and culture and the communities that they've been in contact with. Of course, then there's the arts, and that's from traditional dance to contemporary and village folk music and dance to local artisans, alternative musicians, and filmmakers. We learn firsthand from those who have dedicated their lives to keep the arts alive and the stories, traditions, and social commentaries they convey. And we do that through a series of things where we're writing with the communities that they're actually then being able to unfold over the story with the guests. The next thing would be traditions, customs, and rituals from family, personal, generational, community, and country points of view. But at many times, as we know, they're in sync, and at times they're debated and at odds, and are constantly evolving, leading to cohesion and then separation, unity and divide, and everywhere in between, and sometimes at the same time. Of course, there's the attire, from traditional dress and influences and the practicalities behind them. And there's so much as well that we can see through people that are really into clothes or into design and stuff like that. We'll see how much kind of, again, intermingling and different influences there are in dress and what people wear from a practical point of view to a fashion point of view. And it's from a community point of view to a spiritual point of view, and all the kind of the progressive threads, no pun intended, between them. The next thing would be buildings, which is the architecture. Architectural influences and why buildings and homes are the way they are. Many reasons for practical, but also from cultural and historical reasons. So there's a lot we can learn when communities share with us why they build the way they build, why they live in structures the way they are, why the houses of worship are the way they are, etc. Of course, learning, which is very, very important and something very close to us because we're big into promoting compassionate education. Learning means everything from education, from educational systems and curriculums, to focusing on personal perspectives and practicalities, methodologies, and why and how we learn what, and when we learn what, actually, which is also evolving. And then finally, etiquette. And this is defined, etiquette has many as well as definitions like tradition and culture, but basically defined by traditions, customs, and social structures. And we like to delve in with the communities, the hows, whys, whats, and whens behind the things we do and our behaviors, and amongst each other, as well as within ourselves and how we conduct ourselves. This goes from the way we eat to the way we address people, and we look at each other and everything in between.
Wow, so it's very comprehensive. When you put these stories together, you're putting a lot into developing them for that particular community.
Correct.
So that instead of the ugly American, you should excuse the expression coming in, we have the beautiful American or the beautiful traveler for anywhere in the world that comes in and accepts, embraces the culture, wants to learn, is eager to become part of that community for this time in order to experience and to help, which is a huge part. That must be very gratifying.
It is.
Feel like you're doing something like that.
It is, and also along that way, many people, the more that the story unfolds, the more that they realize that the stories of the community that we have worked on and that the communities have written, it's like there is so much more in common. There is really that understanding, and it's great seeing that when that kind of when that connection is made with our guests. And they really, on individual things, that it just really starts clicking, and that we have so much more in common, and then we do different, and that is very rewarding to see.
Yes, I wish there were some sort of programs going on, with governments. Like, I was just thinking how people have this horrible vision in some parts, like even some parts of America. Some Americans are so closed-minded, and they say this is our country, we don't want any foreigners in here, and they have such a terrible picture. They maybe even do some hate crimes. Maybe they're not really serious. Be great to send them over there, like as they're, you have to go there and you have to become and you have to see that these are people. It's just like that, making that light bulb go off with humans towards animals. We also need to make that light bulb go off between humans versus humans.
Humans, exactly.
Yeah.
The same. Like you hit it right on the nail. That the same kind of way that we look at it, humans look at animals, we look at each other with those differences and kind of making it separate and making it less, and all the judgment and condemnation that comes with it. And the only way to break that is obviously, like you said, I hope more people travel, not just for the sake of traveling, but really to understand that a lot of the things that we've, I know that even personally, that I was brought up learning about other cultures and other people was very much wrong. and it was being taught by people that had no real knowledge or connection with people. I mean, I even say in one of we do an orientation meeting at the beginning of each trip, and it goes on about to kind of an hour and a half to 2 hours about different things. Just right in the beginning, it's kind of like the prologue to the story, where so to introduce on the cultures and certain things. And when we're in countries where Buddhism is a majority religion, one of the things is I remember my my third grade teacher, I'll never forget, said that all Buddhists are pagans and devil worshippers. And they only follow like the doctrine of Satan. And then I look at the 5 precepts the 5 precepts, and like, wow, none of those 5 precepts have anything to do with the qualities of Satan. The first precept, compassion for all living beings, that doesn't sound like Satan to me. But these were the teachers, and and I'm sure we all have our stories like that. But the only way to break that down is to really getting an understanding. And one thing is reading about it, but the other is actually having interaction and communication with people and to understand them.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to show this honor that you're nominated for an award, a very important award let's just bring this up. The World Travel Awards, you're nominated. This is a big honor. Do you want to just talk a little bit about how one would get nominated, and the fact that you're the first and only vegan tour company that has been nominated? Yeah,
actually, we're the first. Why I say that, because they said, "Oh, you're the only vegan tour company in the World Travel Awards, World Tour for 2021." And then I thought, okay, that just for 2021. And they said, actually, you're the first vegan tour company in the 28-year history of the World Travel Awards. And
wow.
I was shocked, but thankfully we are nominated in the Asia's Responsible Tourism Award 2021, which I'm very happy about, as well as just being the first vegan tour company to ever be nominated in 28-year history. But as Asia's Responsible Tourism Award, because this gives us a chance to talk, just even the nomination, we're up against very big companies, so the chance of us winning are probably slim, but still, just to be able to have the opportunity to talk and bring the conversation that traveling vegan should be part of the conversation of responsible, sustainable, and eco-friendly travel. And for so long it has not been, and so long when I'm in travel circles and stuff like that, or events or what have you, and responsible tourism, sustainable, eco-friendly travel, and I try to bring that up, people don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear about it. It's kind of the same like with the climate change argument, that people don't want to hear about. Let's not talk about animal agriculture. Let's talk about all the other points. Let's not go there. So this nomination is giving us a chance to openly talk about it, and we'll keep our fingers crossed, because if we have the slim chance, if we can win, then that really gives us a platform to say that, hey, traveling vegan should be part of the responsible, sustainable, and eco-friendly travel conversation going forward. Yes. And hopefully many more vegan tour companies get nominated in the future, I hope.
Absolutely. This is going to get the ball rolling. And I just voted, and I just want to show that. Yesterday, I ran right over there as soon as I saw the possibility of getting Veg Voyages, and particularly a vegan travel or tourism company to win this award. And it's so easy. So I do want to show people the website here as well.
And I think there's the link I sent you, which is, I think, easier to get to, because if you go just straight to the site, you have to kind of hunt for it. And I think it's under general categories and Asia responsible tourism. So you really kind of have to search for it. But there is a link I sent you, which actually brings you right to the Asia.
Yes. And what I'm doing right now with that link, folks, is putting it into the comments so that you can go ahead and click on that link. There, it should go up. Yeah.
Thank you.
So everybody watching, and it went up twice. Well, twice is good.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please help us to bring the vegan travel subject matter up into the conversation, because traveling responsibly, sustainably, and eco-friendly, we should be also talking about traveling vegan, and that should be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And I want to see if I can bring that so people, well, it's a long URL. Just click on it. Just click on it, folks. It'll get you where you need to go. It literally took me 2 minutes, and it's so easy and it's so important because, as we can see right here, it's not just about people and culture, which of course for world peace and for compassion and love, and which is all what we all want. We need that. But what about the earth? It's being destroyed. What about the animals? Look at the orangutan. So you guys are working not just to help people, but as we have seen in the rescue work that you did in Nepal and Laos, you've been rescuing street animals, and we want to talk about that in a couple minutes too. So so what you're doing is all encompassing, and it's so easy to vote, as you can see on my little slide here. It took me 2 minutes. All I had to do was register my email and vote, and there you go. And it could make such a big difference in the world of travel, but not just that. It could just bridge gaps, like you say. You guys have a huge vision that is just beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for coming up with it. So what should we talk about next? We have so much to go over. Why don't you talk a little bit about the background, like how this whole thing got started?
Okay, there's 5 partners in the company that we're 5 close friends. We come from 4 different countries and 4 different faiths. And we had
Which countries are you from? Just so we get to know a little more.
Okay, so from the US, Indonesia, Nepal, and India.
Great.
Yeah, so that's and so we had a mutual love of travel, of veganism, of the environment, protecting animals, and of cultures. And so we came together 17 years ago to do our first trips, 3 trips that we did in 1 country in India, and now we do over 27 trips a year in 8 different countries. And then starting next year, we also have 2 other countries, which will be Cambodia and Singapore, that we're also adding. I was based in Cambodia before starting this in the end of 97, 98, 99, right after the coup there. And we come from all storytelling, a film background. So we used to coordinate for film and media units in South Asia and Southeast Asia beforehand, as well as in production and then production and distribution. And so storytelling is a passion of ours as well. So we combined after basically burning out on the film and the media business for many reasons, but the basic reason is that we got into it thinking that we could change the world when we were young, very young, and then we realized that it just became a job, just another job. And at the same time, along that way, we had to compromise many of our environmental and our animal rights beliefs. So we wanted to said we're not getting any younger, so let's start something that we can dedicate every day of our life to doing, that will go along in line with what we believe, and where we can try to make a positive impact. The one part, there are 2 parts of the filmmaking, the media business we liked before was the storytelling aspect, even though we weren't being able to tell the stories obviously we wanted to tell. And also what we liked was bridging the cultural gaps, which we actually saw weren't getting smaller, they were actually getting bigger and bigger and bigger, those cultural gaps. And so we combined that with our animal rights and our vegan beliefs, and we founded Voyages, and that was 17 years ago. And as mentioned, now we're doing 27 trips a year, 27, we like to say 27 stories a year in 8 different countries.
Wow, that's amazing. And like I said, in addition to that, you are doing so much for these communities, in addition to the travel and the cultural.
Thank you. That was one of our main things we wanted to do, is when we were telling the stories, we wanted to say, how can this benefit the communities that we're telling the stories with? How, in addition to bridging the cultural gaps and the understanding that would come from that, and the benefits hopefully that comes from that, how can on a daily basis we give back? And so that's what we decided. That was like right from the beginning, or even we're telling the stories, it's like with the communities, what can we do? What can we do to help? When we all come together, what can we do to help? And that's for the communities and their ecosystems and their environment, because it's all equally important. It's kind of keeping the balance, of everything. Very important, as we all know.
I'm just looking through a few of the comments here, and people are just gung ho for your company, which is amazing. And
Yes.
Tina Walker, one of our great fans that is here with us many, many times, she's saying, come on, folks, vote. And she's right.
Thank you.
Let's see. Is this your website, Vegan Travel Asia? Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the correct one. And Zach, you are my hero, Tina says. XO, I love you. You're my hero. And so we have some coming in here. Here's another one. Have you seen Vanessa Marceau's travel posts from Egypt? It was amazing, and going through an agency that makes sure vegan restaurants and vegan friendly hosts would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen her post, but I'm going to check it out. I just noted it down here, and I would love to. I've never been to Egypt, so I'm going to read her post. I'd love to go to Egypt.
Yeah, she's been doing stories on Jane Unchained. She's one of our contributors, lovely contributors, and she is going all over the Middle East. Really, I think she's been all over, and she's reporting back, which is amazing. And look here, Fredressa. I'm having trouble with lights.
Thank you, Fredressa. Thank you.
Yeah, Fredressa. Thank you for saying her name correctly. And then we've got the links in here, so folks, just click on that little linky dinky there, and remember, I'm aging myself here, but what was her name? Ernestine Ringy Dingy.
Yes.
Click on the linky dinky. Okay. So anyway, folks, yeah, we really want you to vote. So please do. You can really help with that. Let's move on. I guess we can move on. Your company has also founded, you have a foundation, and that's part of how you went and did that rescue work you were doing during COVID. And you want to talk about that for a moment? Because I think most of us here have the perception that, well, at least in where I'm living here in LA, it's going to open up, I think, in a day or two.
That's what I heard. Yeah. But a lot of places, especially where we go to, we still got some months before we're going to get close, and some places even longer to what it is here. One of the biggest reasons, there's many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is right now at this point is the just not the access to vaccinations. That they don't have, because some of the countries, even like where I was in Nepal, though they did the lockdown at the very beginning, they did good. I mean, all things considered, the case amounts were small and everything. And then as things started opening up, because the cases weren't there, then it started going up because it was opening up without without the vaccinations, everything. Those vaccinations now are being run, and they are being, brought to the countries, and it's still, places have a way to go. And Nepal's lockdown that happened relatively recently again, it's been a very tough lockdown. It's been very tough for people, as well as very, very tough for street animals, because I mean, a lot of people that were affected by the first lockdown, when the second one was coming in, they were able to, okay, I'm going to get back to my village. I'm going to get back to my, to a place where I'll be able to have access to food. There's many people that still don't. So we're continuing our food, our food relief efforts for people as well. But the street animals, obviously, once it's locked down like that, the street dogs, the street cows, street monkeys, they obviously they're left, without food. And so our whole team is now back out there every single day. It's a struggle. I mean, and you see the animals and what they're having to go through. It's really difficult. And so there's the immediate thing of providing the food now, and then what we're dealing with and talking with our local animal rights activist friends is that after COVID, that let's do a large scale spay and neuter program will be one thing that we can help as far as the stray dog population, which street dog population in Kathmandu Valley alone numbers are anywhere from 26,000 upwards. And so that's a huge number. And though there have been some level of spay and neuter programs, it's always been relatively small scale, or if it's been on a larger scale, it hasn't been in collaboration as much with everybody. So then you can't keep up with the amount of puppies that are going to be there. So it's a constant chasing game. So a large scale spay and neuter program could be very effective. So then, because as we know, a pandemic now, but in the future, there's going to be more pandemics. There's going to be more. I mean, this is the world we live in. So we need to start long-term planning of what we do when it happens again, and then at the same time, what we can do in between to try to soften, the suffering that's going to go along with it. So.
Yeah. As far as the now there, you said there are street cows and street monkeys as well. So where do those animals come from? The monkeys come down from the jungle for food. Is that?
No, there's like there's several, and it depends on the area. But in Kathmandu, there's several places that are what we would consider urban forests. And in addition to those urban forests, there are areas that are next to temples. A lot of the monkeys hang out at the temples, and when people go to those temples, and they would give them food. And the thing is why those populations are there. Those populations haven't just been there, like they just came down recently. They've been there for generations. So that's all they know, unfortunately. So to relocate them out into the forest would be quite difficult because they are living with they've been grown up. Their culture, even within as far as the monkey culture, is even this is how we get our food. This is where it's available. This is the places the same way. And so for them to even, because there was a talk that, okay, what about relocating to the forest? The only thing is they're going to come back to the edges to where the populations are with people, and then they're going to be going into people's area that aren't used to those monkeys being there, then going through their crops and other things, and then that obviously the human, and animal conflict is going to be there. So at these temples, since people during lockdown can't go to the temples, then there's no one there to basically give them food. So that's where it comes in for the monkeys. But you do see more of the monkeys now because that in the temples, they are straying into the other parts of the city where people didn't regularly see them as often as they are, obviously searching for food. The street cows, a lot of cows, in many cases are cows that have been, they can't give milk anymore. So then they're just let go into the street. And then in other cases, they are owned by some people that have them just roam, and then they come back when they know they're going to get their food, and then they milk them. But then during these times when they don't have the resources to give them as much, they're straying further and further away. So it's kind of multi-level. Or then obviously the male cows, the male calves, so they don't give milk. They don't have any purpose for somebody as far as in the city. So they just unfortunately let them go. And then when they let them go, instead of there's not really a viable sanctuary yet. There's some what we call gaushalas, but even those are like way well past capacity. And there's also some controversy on how gaushalas are actually managed. And so there is a sanctuary, which actually a friend of ours who also helps in the campaigns we do, Bikesh, he's actually was responsible for bringing the SPCA into Nepal. And he's a hardcore vegan activist, very cool, very, very passionate. Every day he has a different vegan T-shirt on, really nice. And he drives around on his electric scooter, and he's in his 60s and stuff like that. I mean, really, really cool guy. So much energy. So
that's great.
Yeah, so he's actually been really pushing this effort to have a large-scale cow sanctuary, and then getting local laws to say that no, you can't just release a cow. You can't even keep a cow in the city anymore, which we're hoping will be successful. And then have these large-scale sanctuaries, and then at the same time, from all of our point of view, to try to curb instead of the increasing amount of dairy, to say, hey, there's alternatives. There's soy milk. There's different. There's the paneer you can make from tofu. There's all these other dairy alternatives out there, which is what we're pushing for as well. So,
have you found that by doing these vegan voyages and having people come and participate and live the story, that you found all sorts of resourceful people that have added kind of ideas and innovations? Like, for example, do you have any stories about someone that just came on vacation and made a big difference? I know they are making a big difference, but like somebody that had a really unique idea.
Yeah, we have quite a few travelers that have emailed us back and said, look, they're giving up what they were doing before. They've either went back to get education that's going to be in environmental or in social work, or people that have actually even started their own NGOs, where then they can start, helping directly in those communities or in communities in their own backyard. We've been very happy on that. We've had some of our guests that have actually that were near the retirement age. When they retired, they went and now they live full time in those countries, and volunteering their time at sanctuaries or rescues. It's
and they probably bring a lot of, if you're bringing an income from America and you're retired, you're probably bringing a lot of resources with you too. to be able to help instead of buying yourself a retirement house on a golf course in Palm Springs. You can get yourself a place there and may change the world.
Exactly. They can live comfortably and still have a big savings, which then they give back to the communities or into environmental or animal rights programs, which is great. So, yeah.
And I want to just jump in here with this article and give you a little credit here for being published in the Veg World magazine. And this is the animal advocacy issue, and you were in this one, and it says here, that when you're, well, I'll just paraphrase because it's covered. When everything shut down and all your travelers went back home, most companies shut down, but instead you guys went to work, and that's what the article is about.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I feel shy to see the article. I'm sorry.
You feel a little shy. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But no, it was a great article, and a great article, and Karen wrote, and I appreciate it. But
that's why we want to get people to vote for you and your organizations. We got to show them. We want to remind everyone, please vote and please share this out and ask people to vote. They can continue to vote until how we want them to vote now, but how long will this go on?
I think it's up until the first week of August. I should know that. I'm sorry, but I'll check. It's up till the first week of August, I think.
Are you doing any kind of tweet storms or anything to get?
What is a tweet storm? I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't even have a Twitter account. We don't.
Okay. Well, normally that's a good way. Maybe somebody in our audience wants to do a tweet storm for you.
That would be great.
Anybody wants to do a tweet storm to help get this organization this award so we can get recognition for vegan travel, and we want to get more vegan travel out there. We want to get more peace, and we got to help these people.
Yes, and I would love it that in the coming years that there's many vegan tour companies that are up for the World Travel Awards, as well as responsible travel awards and responsible tourism awards, to get that conversation. That's the only way the conversation gets out there to other people, that if they see the word vegan or plant-based, they just it's like by default, just ignore it, So I'm hoping that we can, with this nomination, we can help get the word out there. And then I hope in the years to come that there'll be many vegan tour companies, as well as vegan travel businesses, related businesses that are out there in these award centers and getting those recognitions, so we can have that conversation get out there more. Very much so.
Absolutely. And now we have two more things we're going to talk about. Time's going fast. We want to talk about the Himalayan Veg Fest, but before we do, I like what you wrote about impact and metrics. What are these terms, questions mean to us? People ask. Some people ask us, what kind of impact and metrics do we have to determine if we are successful? And you said that they ask us of our profitability and scalability, which is not how we actually determine it. The way we look at it is our impact is what we have done. And in this short time, you've gotten a list here of things just recently that you've done. But do you want to talk about some of these? 17 years ago, you started with 3 trips, as we said. You're up to 27 trips per year. On an average, 50% plus of the guests on each trip are repeat guests, so they have an amazing time and they feel like they're doing something important. Have traveled on 4 or more of our trips, and some have traveled with us 7+ trips. Wow! And you've won awards, etc. But the foundation, we haven't even talked about that. Let's talk about the foundation.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you. As you brought up the guests there, I want to say thank you to all our friends, the guests that have traveled with us and that still believe in us and haven't got annoyed by us. So they've been very patient with us.
Oh, I'm sure there's that. It's a once in a lifetime trip. And I'm trying to figure out how to get my mom a babysitter so I can go on one of these trips.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I talked to you about that before. I still want to go.
Thank you. So often we have people that ask, okay, so how do you do the metrics of how you're successful? Yeah. What's your profit margins? What's your marketing scales? What's your scalability thing? And all those things. And anybody probably in Business 101 is going to be saying like, oh my gosh, they're in trouble. That we're in trouble because we don't look at that at all. The biggest way that we look on our metrics and on whether we are being, quote, successful, is that what can we give back to the communities that have welcomed us and our guests into their hearts, into their homes, and the environment and ecosystems around there. What we can give back, if we're able to give back more and more, then that's how we know. That's our metrics. That's how we determine it. I know it sounds ideal, but that's genuinely that's what what we do. That's the core of what we do. So we've like as mentioned, we've put giving back to the communities has been kind of the foundation of what we do, and we help and support programs and grassroots projects in 5 local village schools. This is our continuous work that we do, which is ongoing. 6 different animal sanctuaries throughout Asia, compassion education projects, outreach and social development programs for marginalized communities in Sri Lanka, Laos, and Nepal. 13 community-based programs ranging from reef protection projects, local recycling centers, educational institutions providing skills to disabled women, and centers providing prosthetics and rehabilitation to those who are missing limbs due to UXL unexported ordinance. In addition to vegan food relief, the water filters, school desks, especially for girls' schools, is a very big project of ours. Is something we really like to focus on. Mooring buoys, trying to get more mooring buoys out there. In addition to the mooring buoys we're putting in Kaya and Kearney in Sri Lanka, it's on other reefs too, because they really do help protect. And then the fact that they're there and on the buoys, we can put some kind of raise awareness environmental slogans in local languages. It also starts helping people look into that more. Working with social village street theater programs. We in Sri Lanka as well as in South India, village street theater is so important. It's a dying art form, but still to this day so effective of an art form to be able to convey social messages and awareness.
Yeah, tell us about this, because I'm not aware of what it is, and I think some other people might not be.
Yeah, now the photos you're looking at there is with the Theater Action Group, which is an extraordinary group in Jaffna in northern Sri Lanka, and basically they use theater as and at their healing center, which you see there with the thatched roof and everything, as well as taking it out into the villages to help people that have suffered from, in their case, severely affected by an almost 3-decade-long civil war, as well as economic downturns, and people that are still trying to recover from, you name it. But that was kind of the fallout, not only the 3 decades of the war, but the war's been over for over 10 years now, but that grew up with it, as well as the economic and all the other problems and kind of the community problems that have happened, that continue to happen after. So working with women and young adults who've been traumatized by years of tragic events, they do workshops that are in line with local traditions and customs that are held by their peers, and they consist of music, dance, drama, meditation. They really help people confront and overcome their fears and increase self-confidence and articulate their emotions, express emotions, and heal. And it's all run by people that have actually been through all that themselves, and which you see in the program there. In the photos there, and we do with our groups in Sri Lanka as well. We do have a program. We're actually a guest of the Theater Action Group for a whole day, and they make 2 great vegan meals for us as well. But they actually see firsthand, and not only just see firsthand, but they actually participate in the programs with the Theater Action Group. But very effective, and again, it brings a lot of people won't, when we're dealing with emotions and expression and depression and PTSD and stuff like that, to seek the help for it. And a lot of times there is either not the help, or B, the help is in the urban city center and very difficult to get into, and then the stigma on that. So what they do is they bring these healing workshops directly to the villages. And it's powerful, and it's incredible, actually. It's absolutely incredible work that they do. So.
Yeah, not change the subject too much. I'm going to show a couple of quick clips we have. Here's the corona response.
Kathmandu, Nepal is a picture-perfect setting surrounded by the majestic Himalayan mountains. A tourist destination for decades, Kathmandu calls to all types of travelers, from mountaineers scaling Everest to those looking to connect with a certain faith. It's a city of millions of stories, and this is just one of them. In March of 2020, the coronavirus pandemic had found its way to the lush green valley, and Kathmandu would succumb to a new normal, uncertainty. Within the uncertainty was travel and tourism. As the last planes departed Kathmandu and the city went into lockdown, Zach Lovas, the co-founder of Voyages, vegan adventure tours, decided not to evacuate, but instead stay behind and join in the efforts to help Kathmandu's street animals and people. Within 48 hours, Voyages had contacted their fellow vegan and animal rights activists in the capital and teamed up. Together they provide vegan meals for people in need or stranded who could not get back to their village, as well as food for street dogs, monkeys, and cows who relied on people, now absent from the streets, to feed them. Wanting to ensure the proper animal diet, the team searched for a vegan dog food recipe online. Fortunately, they found recipes that had ingredients they could source locally. These recipes have been shared across the country within the activist community, inspiring other rescue programs to provide vegan food to dogs on the street and at animal shelters.
Wow. I mean, I want to cover a couple more things, the festival, etc. But, just quickly, vegan dog food, actually dogs can sustain on vegan dog food. And you were able to find a recipe online and you were able to use the resources sourced from the community. That's amazing.
That is, and actually, I want to do an extra shout out to Jane Unchained, because the recipe we found was from the Jane Unchained site.
Oh, fantastic! We're making our mark. Good. Yeah, that's great. Yes, I believe that was a report that was done, a study that was done at a university, and it's still in the process. They are going to actually be introducing that, hopefully, into shelters, because it's cheaper and more efficient, and of course, less animals die. So yeah, that's great. And then we have Kai and Kearney Reef. Can you let me show that one beautiful 1 minute clip. So Zach, tell us what's going on there.
So that's one of the last remaining live reefs, and reefs that stand a chance of continuing to be alive in Sri Lanka. There's just a few, and it's the reason why is its location where it is geographically, and then also because during the Civil War that was part of, there was a lot of combat in that area, so it was an off-limit zone. It switched hands. You had the military in there and then LTT and around in that area, so it didn't have all the overfishing or the other kind of things that would do its wear and tear, tourism that would do its wear and tear on the actual reef. Thankfully, the tourism has not developed much in that immediate area, but it has several bays over, unfortunately. And their boats are coming up into there and they're dropping anchor. And there's nowhere, if you can see that, there's no other boats there. But when the snorkeling and dive boats come in from the other area, they just drop anchor and those anchors come down and they destroy the reef. Reefs that take decades and decades to form. So working with a local dive operator and conservationist, we have buoys that are going in. It's taken us about a year to get the actual permission. But the permission is now approved, and we'll be putting, as soon as the lockdown, Sri Lanka is in a tight lockdown right now. We were supposed to actually be putting those in April, but because of the tight lockdown, we're not able to get our team up there. But as soon as the lockdown is lifted, then they're going to go up, and we'll be putting in 5 mooring buoys to start, and then we'll be increasing more from there. And there's a couple other bays that we're looking at as well in Sri Lanka to do a similar process. So.
Well, it's incredible because although that is a big effort, you would think the governments would be able to very easily implement these sort of things in areas if they were really paying attention to what's going on in the environment.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like it's a huge undertaking to put buoys out for the government and for the local government to handle that.
Exactly, but unfortunately, these things aren't on. And there's so many things on an agenda, and these things will make it. Even when they're proposed, it may make it on a piece of paper that sits on the side of a desk. It never gets to through everything else. So yeah, unfortunately, that's why anything that anybody can do out there, to initiate these type of programs in their own communities, in communities that they visited, whatever it may be. We don't, we can't sit around and wait for governments or the big INGOs or something to do it. And people can do it. The thing is, when I was growing up, I unfortunately I always thought that, to be able to make any difference, you have to be a big INGO or you have to be this big person or something like that. Right. And which is so not true. So as I've learned, as we learn as we're growing up, it's like, wait a second, you can make so much of a difference in your own backyard, working with others in other communities around the world, stuff like that. There's so much we can all do. It's just actually having, it's just doing it. And even like when people ask, and I brought this up before, but we help because we can, and since we can, we must. And that's why we do everything. It's so in the same way, everybody can do it. And so like you're saying there, it does seem like something that should be obvious. But it's and with the community here, the dive operators saying, we'd love to do this. So when you can get people that have the common ground, if you can come together on the common ground and then and get together and do these things, then please, everybody do it.
Yeah, and I was just saying to myself, stop complaining and just do some of it yourself. If you don't like
very well said.
Go do it yourself, like you're saying. Yeah. So there are two more things we want to talk about. We're running out of time. Vegan Sister Cities program. You kind of touched on that. Is there anything else you want to add about that?
No, we're looking forward to it. It looks like our next Vegan Sister City is going to be in Siem Reap, Cambodia, and the Vegan Sister City with that is going to be in Lumbini, which is the birthplace of Buddha in Nepal. So those two will be tight. So we have Jakarta and Mumbai now. We have Udaipur and Kathmandu, and we have Penang and Singapore. So the Vegan Sister City program is basically local activists coming together and supporting each other and helping each other make more restaurants and hotels and other places, establishments in their community become vegan friendly. So and we have a whole program on that, things, printouts that they can get, that they can localize, pinups, kind of a curriculum on what you teach the restaurants, including making a separate vegan menu, stuff like that. And basically it's bringing the vegan conversation directly to the restaurant rather than to have to look online, and making it very easy for them, helping them veganize even their menus, their famous dishes. They don't have to learn new recipes. It's very easy to veganize dishes.
I think many of those, isn't it true that in many of those countries, or in many countries, the vegetarian diet was the main diet because, for one reason, the expense. Yeah, affordability.
Yes, exactly. Plant-based dishes have always played a significant role in the countries that we go to, we can say this for many countries in the world. But plant-based dishes have always played an important role in the daily diet, and having meat was a luxury. And countries in Southeast Asia, dairy after being a baby was almost, it wasn't on the menu. Yeah. So, but now it's being promoted, unfortunately, by dairy companies and everything like that. So this is like a counter to that. So yeah, very easy to make. A lot of dishes that were originally plant-based be plant-based again, and with just a minus of 1 or 2 ingredients. And with non-veg dishes, making those be veg dishes, plant-based dishes, vegan dishes, with just substituting 2 or 3 ingredients. It's
I had some amazing oyster mushroom sweet and sour. They were breaded and it tasted just like if they were sweet and sour, crab or seafood. It tasted exactly. It didn't have that fishy taste, but it had the texture that you go for in the spices. Really, it didn't have the part I don't like. It's just like with yogurt. The vegan yogurt, it was always like a terrible taste with yogurt, but I would put fruit and stuff to get rid of it. But the vegan yogurt doesn't even have that taste, so it's even better. It's better.
Yeah. Exactly. And part of getting to the Himalayan Vegan Festival, part of the initiatives that we're doing at the Himalayan Vegan Festival, which is going to be it's the largest plant-based vegan event ever in the Himalaya. Then by default, the largest plant-based event ever in Bhutan and in Nepal. And it's a result-oriented festival. It's open, free to the general public, but we also have a lot of different initiatives that are going to be started there, and workshops there to show people that they can easily make dairy alternatives. We have free workshops open to the public, dairy alternatives for curd and for milk, and you can go down the list. Also, what the using local based ingredients, what they can use as protein substitutes and get plenty of protein without worries. And it's not going to make you weak. I mean, we even have Kuntal Joshua, who's going to be there, who is the 2-time vegan, summited Everest twice, and he's vegan, as well as
the strongest man in the world is vegan.
Exactly. So we're going to have these workshops. Exactly. So we're going to have all these workshops there. But in addition to that, we're also going to be instituting, like, we're going to have soya is grown locally in the villages and stuff. So what we're going to do, soybean, is we're also going to be doing a tempeh workshop, because tempeh is something that would be a good substitute for meat that they can do easily in the village. The big thing about it is always finding the starter. But we actually have Dr. Susianto, who's like known as the king of tempeh, and he's actually coming over there. We're training the food science and microbiology campuses on how to produce that, so it can be produced locally and then provided to villages locally, so people can make tempeh on a local basis. The same we want to do with cheese. Cheese in Bhutan especially is very, very big. It's part of the national dishes. And so we want to, using local ingredients, show that how it can be done, and then encourage local farmers to grow the stuff that they do grow locally anyhow, but on a larger thing, and then have local vegan activists will be purchasing that and making local vegan cheese. It will be a cooperative base. So we have several programs, actually quite a few programs like that we're going to be initiating at the Himalayan Vegan Festival as well.
Which is when?
It is April 15th to 20th, 2022, 3 days in Kathmandu, Nepal, and 3 days in Thimphu, Bhutan.
So this is a good time to start getting your reservations set up, because it's less than a year away.
Yes, exactly.
Look at this amazing food. I'm so hungry right now. I'd like to dive in there. That looks so good. Wow. Well, we just want to remind everyone one more time to share out this video and to please go to the link that we have put up for World Travel Awards. We want to be the first vegan travel. We want Veg Voyages to get that award.
Thank you.
And we do. We want that to happen. So folks, share out this video. Do your vegan activism this morning, and it's so easy. Vote and tell your friends to do same, and share the video.
Thank you. And we have also another initiative out of there is the vegan trails. I know we're running out of time, but the vegan trails will be 3 different trails that will be in the Himalaya to start, and then we're going to expand from that. And basically it's doing trekking routes, 2 to 5 day trekking routes that are free as far as for anybody that wants to come. They're going to be maps that the tourism board's going to be providing, and then these villages and the homestays that people would stay out there will all be trained as far as on what the vegan sensitivities is, how to make their dishes, most of them easily vegan. So people can go there, they won't have to worry about the food, they stay in the villages, and they can do these treks, 2 to 5 day treks around there. And these are in villages that are not feeling the effects of tourism, the positive effects of tourism yet, as far as on income and stuff like that, but villages where then a lot of the youth are having to leave there because there is no way to make an income in the village. So sustainable tourism, sustainable vegan tourism programs. And one of the first ones is in the shadow of Dhaulagiri. Dhaulagiri is the largest mountain in the world in a single country. If you look at Everest or K2, they share the border with other countries. Dhaulagiri is actually the largest mountain. It's the 7th largest mountain in the world, and it's the largest mountain within a single country. And it's absolutely gorgeous, the range, and you see the range the whole way through, going through these different communities.
Wow, what? It sounds so amazing. It's like, I remember there was a movie, Xanadu, years ago. Do you remember that?
I remember the name, but I don't remember the movie.
It was all about going to this magical place that was just paradise. Of course, it was snow, but it was just kind of the same thing. You just go into, it's like you're in a whole different reality. And this is that kind of an opportunity for people and to do good thing, do something valuable while you're there, not just for yourself, but for the planet and for others and animals. Oh my gosh, it's a win-win. It's a win-win, folks. So, so yeah, we are running. We have 1 minute left. Is there anything you want to just leave us with here till the next time?
No, I mean, thank you. One thing I want to say, thank you very much, Lindsay, for welcoming me back, and thank you very much for promoting your whole show on what you do, Action Hour, and promoting a more compassionate lifestyle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, well, that's all for tonight, or today, which is getting started today, but we will see you next week. Oh, and stay tuned tomorrow. I'll be doing Lunch Break Live with Mandy Varas, and she has Black Sheep Sanctuary Retreat, Black Sheep Retreat Sanctuary, where you can go and have an adventure in Cancun. So we'll see you next week with that story. Or, sorry, tomorrow with that story. I'm confusing myself. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.